Today we're talking about the easiest way to develop film at home. So if you've been looking to develop film and you've gone down the rabbit hole and you've seen the absolute mess of suggestions, this video will kind of remove the mystery of it all and also the confusion. This is your starting point, essentially. So what do I use? I use the cinestill monobath kit. And I use that because, well, it's super easy. When you first start, you just always assume you're gonna mess something up. And at least I did. I was worried that something was not right. I figured timing was super critical and all these different things. There's a little bit of leniency. Film is not that precious. I hate to break it to you. So just keep that in mind. You're not gonna mess this up. It broke the ice. It got me into developing film. And personally, I think it's the best way to develop black and white film. I'll get heat for that, I'm sure. If you can show me a difference, then show me a difference. But most people can't. That's besides the point. We're getting off track. I'm going to take you start to finish, how to develop a roll of film using the monobath. I will also tell you what I added that I use on a daily basis when I develop film that just made the process even easier. Then I'm going to tell you what I like about the cinestill monobath. I will tell you what I don't like. You can absolutely develop film completely with the mono kit. However, there is things that you can add that'll make it a little bit easier. Here's a few things that I would recommend adding to the kit yourself to make it a better experience. Number one, a thermometer. Add a thermometer, it'll make your life easier. Get a bottle opener or canister opener, whatever you wanna call it. You could peel it open, but that is metal most of the time, so you might cut yourself, so don't do that. I have, because I'm insane, I guess, but I wouldn't recommend it. A dark bag. You can block out all the light, and you can load your reels in pure darkness. Hanger and clips. Scissors is another thing that you would want to get, or just make sure you have handy. A container to heat up your chemicals is ideal. First thing I do is check the development chart to make sure I am going to develop this roll properly. In this case, we'll do a roll of Kentmere 400, and I want to develop this normally, which would be about 80 degrees for 3 minutes. To heat up my chemicals, I just put a bunch of warm water into a bucket, and then I take the chemicals, put it in the bucket, put a little thermometer in there, and keep an eye on it. Make sure it doesn't go too far above 80 degrees. While my chemicals are warming up, I go ahead and start on the film and loading it into the tank. Snip this little piece off, makes it a little easier to load onto the reel. Then I load the tank, the film, scissors, opener, all the good stuff into the dark bag. If you wear an Apple Watch, make sure you take that off before you put your hands in the dark bag for obvious reasons. Now this is what it looks like to load the reel inside the dark bag. You can practice this on a already exposed roll of film if you have one, or like an old expired roll that you don't care about. But it's a good idea to get a practice in, so that way when your hands are in the dark bag and you can't see, you're a little bit familiar with this. Once I've reached the end of the roll, I can cut it away from the canister and put this reel into the tank. Put the top on, make sure it seals nicely along the sides, and your roll of film is out of the canister and light sealed in this tank, ready for some chemistry. For this small tank, I just pour directly into it, and I stop once I see the chemistry reach the top of the hole that I'm pouring into. Then I start my stopwatch and put my lid on, and I agitate for 3 minutes constantly. Don't overthink this part. It's just a nice constant roll, rotation. There is no right or wrong way to do it. You're just thinking of it as getting the chemistry evenly across the entire film. Once I reach 3 minutes, I can stop and pour the chemistry from the tank back into the chemistry container so it can be reused for more rolls in the future. The final step is to run it underwater for about 5 minutes. Once that's up, you can dump out all the water and open up the tank. And just like that, you've developed a roll of film at your house. And the hard part really is waiting for it to dry. So you gotta clip it to a hanger. I take my 2 fingers, squeegee off all that extra water, and wait for it to dry, which feels like an eternity. And a good practice to do is to mark how many rolls you've developed with the chemistry and when you opened it. First things first, it cleared all the confusion for me. I went down the internet rabbit hole of developing film and I realized, holy shit, there is so many different options. There's so many different combinations, ratios, different advice that people will give you, and it was a bit much. I just wanted to know, how the hell do I start developing my own film? Why is this so confusing? YouTube was more helpful than Reddit and forums, mainly because I'm a visual learner, but it still was overwhelming. And then I was gifted the mono kit, and then the rest is history. Another reason that I really liked the mono kit was cost. It's not a secret, film is expensive, can get expensive, but it doesn't always have to be. There's definitely ways around that, and one of them being developing your own film. Now, monobath is strictly a black and white developer. I started actually shooting more film, which is a good thing. So this really opens the door to shooting more, especially if you like black and white film, obviously. I've developed around probably 60 plus rolls, maybe more with monobath. So I'm rather comfortable with it. I would never have shot that much if I was paying for it because it's so expensive. And last but not least, cinestill monobath is quick and it's easy. I mean, I don't know why I would want to make it more complicated for myself. It's one of the reasons why when I see all these different combinations and developers, and again, I'm sure there's minor details that are reasons why people go with whatever developing process they choose, and to each their own. I'm gonna go with the easiest and simplest that gives me the results I like. Nothing is perfect. The main thing that I don't like about the monobath is when you start to shoot T-grain films. So if you don't know what T-grain films are, it's essentially films like T-Max 100, T-Max 400, any of the Delta Ilford lines. Those are T-grain films. I don't want to get too technical on you, but essentially they require double the amount of developing time. So even if you took a fresh batch of monobath and you put a roll of T-Max in it, whatever you would normally develop it at, you'd have to double it. So that's a little annoying. However, if you were to look at any other development process, they're already much longer than what cinestill monobath is. But for me, when you're used to using it for like HP5, Tri-X, and FP4, things like that, when you have to double the time and you've used the monobath a few times, you start to realize that that number starts to get up there. Also, those films sometimes have a hard time clearing. This probably makes no sense to you right now, but it will. And that is really it. Even cinestill has said that it works best and is designed for cubic grain film. That's pretty much the only thing I don't like about it. I have developed T-Max, I have developed Delta, so it's not impossible, it works, but it's just annoying because it's a lot longer, and sometimes, especially with T-Max, and I've heard this from other people who've used different processes, that T-Max is not an easy film to develop. It is brutal on your chemistry. I don't shoot any of those types of films that much anyway, and usually if I am, it's like a professional setting, like a studio shoot or something that is like a bigger project. I'm gonna take it to like a professional lab because I cannot risk. I don't trust myself that much, okay? So that is the easiest way to start developing film at home. I am sweating right now. I am so warm. I need a fan in here. Holy shit. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. I will answer any of them. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.